Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. Here with me today is Chris RECK from Minopon Tarot on YouTube. And Chris chose to talk about The Office. As if you don't know what that is, I'll tell you. The Office, and he chose Season 3, Episode 9, The Convict. But before I get into that, I just wanted to say about Chris, you're more than a tarot reader. You guide people. I don't know if you want to say you coach people. You're inspiring. You always give little tidbits in your reading, and I appreciate you so much. So often, like, you've inspired me, and I've done something about it, and it's paid off. I mean, even like asking you to interview, because you always say if something makes you scared, that's probably a good sign. Not that I was scared, but I was nervous, to ask you. So, um, yeah, and so thank you also for choosing The Office, because that's a great show. And it made me, I hadn't watched it in a long time. And so I did watch the first season, which was only 6 episodes, actually. And oh my gosh, it's just such a great show. And I just was wondering, before we get into it, how many times have you are you one that you've watched this series over
Oh
and over?
yeah. I
Yeah?
just I literally cycle The Office like all the time. I always have it on in the
Background?
background. It's yeah, it's that or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I just always am rotating between those two.
That one I haven't watched. I gotta watch that one.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. All right. According to Wikipedia, this is just the synopsis of The Office. It's an American mockumentary sitcom television series that depicts the everyday work lives of office employees at the Scranton, Pennsylvania branch of the fictional Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. And it aired back in 2005, and it went to 2013, had 9 seasons. It's based off of the 2001 to 2003 BBC series of the same name, created by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, and then was adapted for American television by Greg Daniels, a veteran writer for Saturday Night Live, King of the Hill, and The Simpsons. Did you know that this episode that you chose was I think the only one actually written by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant?
I did
Oh,
not know
I
that.
thought maybe you
No.
did that on purpose.
There's Wow. No.
Yeah, little tidbit from Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Um, so the Convict is the 9th episode of the 3rd season of the American comedy television series. The Office was the 37th overall episode. Aired in 2006. Okay, I gotta find the synopsis now. Okay, there it is. Michael Scott learns that Black employee Martin Nash is a former criminal and tells the entire office. During this time, in a misguided effort to avoid issues of stereotyping and racism, Michael asks the employees to name a white person that they trust, and he will name a Black person he trusts even more. The name Jesus pops up, and Michael replies with Apollo Creed. Meanwhile, Jim Halper encourages Andy Bernard to pursue Pam Beasley and intentionally gives him information about her strong dislikes. Later, Andy strums Rainbow Connection on his banjo while singing falsetto. He also does some pig Latin in there, right?
Yep.
Pam smiles politely and silently shares the joke with Jim. Martin tells the others he was incarcerated for insider trading and that he enjoys certain perks of prison, including outside time and art classes. Pam comments that prison sounds better than their current work situation. Attempting to convince his employees that the office is better than prison, Michael sends everyone to, quote, outside time in the bitter cold. He then calls a meeting in which he adopts the persona of Prison Mike, who attempts to persuade the workers to know why prison is much worse than they think. Martin comments that Michael's performance did not remind him of his time in prison. This further infuriates Michael, who then locks all of the staff inside the conference room in order to have his coworkers released. Toby Flenderson tells Michael, he's the HR guy, tells Michael the staff is simply teasing him. After letting the agitator workers go, a relieved Michael relents, but Martin chooses to quit. Okay. Why did you pick this episode?
Yeah, well, one time I said I was gonna dress up as Prison Mike and do videos on my channel. So
Really?
that's why I chose it. Yeah. And well, so I started saying that it's really tough love with Steve. So I have my own character now, and so that's why I chose the episode.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah.
I went into a little bit deeper meaning after a while. I watched it. I started to overthink probably, but
Yeah. Right.
you were like, I just love that episode.
Yeah,
Um,
I just loved it.
Well, I have some comments. I cannot stand the Jim slash Karen storyline, and I think I might have even blocked it out, like from when I watched it how many years ago. Um, and then the Jim Toby Pam storyline is also very funny. Um, Kevin kills me. Like I just have to comment. Kevin kills me.
Right.
They're all amazing actors. Dwight, with the money hanging out of his pocket, bending over,
Head of his
trying to.
pocket, right? Yeah.
um, and it sounds like apparently Kevin does insider trading. I don't know how he does that at the paper
Yeah.
company, but um, also too, I just noticed like the TV that Mike put on and was like trying to see if it was as good as the one in prison was like really crappy looking. Like I don't look like
Yeah.
an old VHS tape was playing or something. Um, Also, it was great. Like Prison Mike references the Dementors, which was apparently the worst thing about prison, in his
Prison, right.
opinion. Yeah. And then how he tried to like change his the way he spoke, his accent, which I'm a speech pathologist, so it was just funny. He was like,
Oh.
"Thanks," and then he goes, "Tanks," and I just thought it was ironic because he hates Toby so much, but Toby was the one who convinced Michael to let them out of the conference room. So do you want to point out any like? I know it sounds like you really liked the Prison Mike character. Who's your favorite character on The Office?
Yeah, Dwight. I would
Yeah,
say overall, I think Dwight
do-
is definitely my favorite out of everybody.
I was talking about it to my husband because I was like, "Oh my god, I haven't watched this in so long," and I was like, "Steve Carell is so good," and then I
Yeah,
was like,
really
"But
good.
Dwight is like." I think I said
Whole
Dwight to
other
him first.
level.
I said I think Dwight is my favorite, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And my husband's like, "They're all like so good. Like you need all of them. You know, they're an ensemble cast, I guess." But all right, what I was going to ask you. Who do you relate to any of them? If you
I
say
don't know.
Dwight,
Just Prison Mike,
okay, Prison Mike. Okay,
Yeah, 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 exactly. I don't grow beats like Dwight, so I can't really be like Dwight.
yeah. Well, there's also other weird stuff about Dwight that I hope you don't
Well,
relate.
everything else is true about me except for the beats.
Okay. Oh, okay. Great.
So I do all the other Dwight stuff. Everything that Dwight does, I do,
Well, he brought in like a
except the beats.
dead goose at the episode after this.
Yeah, that wouldn't bother me either.
But would you do that?
Well, he didn't. The dead goose he found, or
Yeah,
didn't he? Or he said he
I think
accidentally
he
hit it
hit
with his
it or something.
car, right?
Yeah,
Or he found it.
quote
So
unquote.
if I found one, it wouldn't
Okay.
be that big of a deal.
Okay. Um. So, what is it about Prison Mike? You just think it was just really funny, or
Yeah, I thought it was like funny. I just like how Michael is always like getting into those like situations where he's trying to bring everyone together,
mm-hmm.
but he does like he tries too hard,
Yes.
and I think that's why I relate to it.
Okay. I so you want to hear my deeper meaning part, which I thought.
Yeah, I really
Are
am
you ready for
interested.
this? Okay. So,
Yeah.
um, I think many people do feel like their jobs are
Mm.
prison or they're trapped, and I think that that's more and more nowadays. And I hope that a lot of people are starting to realize it doesn't have to be that way, And it just The Office is hysterical, but part of it was like this is almost a little depressing. Like it's just thinking about really, does anybody work barely at all? I mean, and there's definitely true offices like that. Have you worked in an office?
I've never worked in an office like that. Almost. I almost was in insurance, but I didn't get hired there,
Oh,
luckily.
that's
So,
see,
yeah.
yeah. I've worked in an office. So I realized I worked for Morgan Stanley in the city. I did
Oh,
work
yeah.
in HR first. But I did campus recruiting for investment banking, so it was really fun. I wasn't like one that you would go to if there was an issue or something like. I wasn't
An
a
issue,
Toby.
right?
I wasn't like
Not a
squashing
Toby.
things.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun actually in our department. And then I worked, and then I went to grad school, back to school, and then I did work in a hospital as a speech pathologist, and then I worked in a school. I'm like, I've worked in a few environments, so
Yeah.
kind of interesting. um, yeah, I mean, the office I worked in, I could totally see certain offices where people are just like paper pushers, and it's like, does that person really work? And like the obnoxious. Have you? So you never worked in an office. Have you had a obnoxious boss?
Um, actually, I've gotten really lucky with my bosses,
Uh-huh.
thinking about it. I don't think I've ever had a bad boss, really.
Yeah.
I definitely had I think my first boss, like, I worked at a vineyard. I started working when I was 12, and I worked at a vineyard, and,
Wait, you
when I
were
started working there, I was
12.
like yeah, I was 12, yeah, and I was picking grapes, and, I was like that was the boss that made me decide that I never wanted to work for someone again.
Mm,
She wasn't, like, a bad she was a good person, but,
yeah.
just not someone I would wanna work for
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. I haven't really just in the different jobs I've had more than one boss in a way.
Oh,
So
yeah.
my like direct bosses have been great. There were times at Morgan Stanley there was this one position that would rotate um, different people, and this one woman, everybody was like scared of her, but she liked me. Like you didn't know, she either liked you or she didn't
Yeah.
like you. So we were like, and I hate that feeling. It's like
Mm.
anyway. Oh, so sorry. The deeper meaning. Okay, people feeling trapped. I was talking about in a way like how Michael Scott was talking about. This is good life and all this stuff. And I was like, is it in a way, is that the old school American dream? Like back in the day,
Hmm.
work 9 to 5, have a house, uh, have insurance. Like it just, and now I hope that the American dream is changing, you know, um,
Yeah, I think it is.
and that, yeah, yeah. And, that, that there's more like work doesn't have to be work. It can be your purpose. It can be fulfilling. Um, and it's just taking that leap, which you talk a lot about in your reading. So, um, which
Yeah.
I appreciate. Um,
Oh, thanks.
you're welcome. And I was thinking about the different characters. I was like, okay, who like Michael is really living his best life. Like I think he's
Oh, yeah.
living his purpose because he loves to joke around with everybody, like you said, bring them together, make them
Yeah.
laugh. I mean, and he's like, he's fine. I think Dwight is too. I think Dwight
Yeah.
life's purpose.
Living the dream.
Yeah, Stanley, I feel horrible. He's like just trying to get to retirement. I mean, it's like very
Right, yeah.
depressing. Um, I didn't go through all the people, but then I was thinking, who has the hardest job there? And I think it's Toby.
Toby, yeah, because everybody hates him,
Everybody
right?
hates him. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So that was my deeper meaning, which I thought went well with
Yeah.
like what you
No,
do and
that makes a
everything.
lot of sense. Yeah, I wish I thought of that.
See, I guess
'Cause
I'm a
that
little
that would've been that would've been
I'm a
perfect.
little psychic too.
Yeah, there you go.
um, so I have some tarot questions, not for you to read for me or anything, but what is your okay? So for those of you who don't um, know about tarot or I guess astrology, and I would just really learned this the past year about not only are you not just your sun sign, it's your
Mhm.
moon sign and then rising, and then I know there's more with different houses, which you know I did get my chart done through an app called oh, geez, now I forgot the name of it. They Co-Star, it's called. And someone advised
Mm.
me, they're like, the app is not the best. Like, it's kind of sarcastic. Like, it'll shoot out a thing every day, and sometimes
Oh,
it's
yeah.
obnoxious. But they're like, it'll do your chart for you. I was like, oh, cool. So,
Yeah.
I'm a Taurus sun, um, and then my moon is Cancer. And I just kind of
Mhm.
recently, I have like, my Venus was it Venus rising is also Cancer. I have like three things that are Cancer. So I have a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
Cancer, which explains some stuff. Um, and then I'm a Capricorn ascendant, which also explains
Oh,
things.
that explains it.
Yeah. What explains what? No, I'm just kidding.
The work, it
Oh,
explains your work.
yeah, yeah. Um, so what is you're a Pisces sun,
Yep.
and then what's your moon?
And then I'm a Aquarius rising and Gemini moon.
Okay, my Mercury is in Gemini. I think
Oh,
that
there
means
you
I
go.
talk a
Yeah.
lot, which is true
You talk a lot, right?
for a living and in life. Okay.
Yeah.
um. Okay. Is it okay? I know your mom's a Taurus, right? Because you've
Yep.
mentioned that.
Yep.
Can I ask when her birthday is? Obviously not the year, but when's her birthday?
Um, yeah, oh, this is horrible.
Oh
You
gosh,
put me on the
are
spot,
you
and I'm not
blanking
gonna
out?
remember. May 9th.
I'm May
Yeah,
15th.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um. And my mom's a Taurus too. She's April 26th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then my grandmother, who's passed away a long time ago, she was also a Taurus, May 8th. Not her mother, though. Anyway, a lot of Tauruses. A lot of April birthdays, too.
A lot of Taurus.
I have
I
a
know
lot
I
of
have a lot
Aries,
of
too.
Tauruses in my
Do you?
life.
And they're fantastic.
Yeah,
They're fantastic.
they are. Yeah, they're all wonderful, right?
And, like, the Cancer moon, like, that explains some stuff with me, too. But it's hard for me to watch now other readings, like watch a Cancer reading, because I'm stubborn. The Taurus, I'm like, well,
Yeah, the
it
Taurus,
seems
right?
weird when I hear you say Cancer. I'm like, what? Anyway.
Yeah.
And I have a funny thing that I've just, to me, have found funny listening to different astrologers, especially more recently, the pronunciation of the planet Uranus. So
Uranus.
Uranus. Okay.
Yeah.
Some people say Uranus, and I don't know why that just
Right.
kills me. And it's like they're just trying to really not say anything that sounds
Yeah.
bad, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
I Googled it and I was like, how do
Yeah, what
you?
does Google say?
Well, first, so Merriam-Webster dictionary says Uranus. That's how they
Right.
transcribe it. But suppose, okay, I don't know. I Googled it and said, how do you pronounce Uranus? It is pronounced Uranus. The alternative
Google's wrong.
well, it says the alternative pronunciation was I don't know if this is true. Only invented in the 1950s for the science program The Sky at Night. So the program opted for your and us
Hmm.
as an entirely weird pronunciation. So anyway, I don't know. It always, I'm going to sound like a dork, but it always makes me giggle. Like whenever I hear, especially when I hear them go, Uranus, I'm like, oh boy, Anyway,
Yeah.
I just had to bring that up because these are the things I get stuck on. I can't help it.
Right, yeah, no, it's easy. It's easy to get
Yeah,
stuck
yeah.
on.
I kind of know some of the answers to this, but I want to ask you anyway, for those of people who don't know, how did you learn tarot and how you got into it?
Yeah, so I got into it just by well, I've always been into weird stuff. I say my grandma told me she said I was an Aquarius when I was younger. I was like 4, 5 when she told me that, but
Why? Was it
I'm a Pisces, obviously. I
the
think she just
date?
was wrong on the dates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you right on like
Yeah.
the border or something?
I'm close. I'm February 24th, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
born
yeah, yeah.
like 5 days after the
Okay.
first day.
Yeah.
So, or within the first 5 days.
Hmm.
And so she was wrong, but then that's when it probably started. And so I started learning tarot a long time ago, but didn't start reading on YouTube till I've been doing it for the past like 9 years now. And that I just kind of fell into it. That's how it happened.
So you were doing playing cards. You were reading playing
Yeah, when I
cards.
started, I was doing I became for whatever reason, I was obsessed with the playing cards at the time. I was listening to Coast AM, which was a like radio show where they talk about like aliens and all this other
Okay.
stuff. And I remember it was years before I started the channel, and they had a guy on that he would come on from time to time, and unfortunately, I don't remember his name, but he would do playing card readings. He had his own playing card reading system as well. And so then that's how I got interested in that.
Hmm.
And so I learned some of his system. I think I gave up and I just learned just regular cartomancy, it's called. And so that then after that I started the channel.
Okay. So there is then an actual like official way to read playing cards? Okay. Because
Yeah,
okay.
like I said, no, he had like a birth card reading system, which I don't really know too much about
Mm,
the whole birth card reading system, but everybody has a birth card. And then so that's kind of what he used. He had this weird system, and then there is just a regular like cartomancy system.
okay. Um, and I know, can you talk about like I know you went through a tough time before you
Yeah.
went on YouTube with the playing cards. Can I ask too how old you were when this
Um,
happened?
when I went through the tough time,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like 21.
Okay.
I lost the business. I say I lost it, but I really just let it die.
Yeah.
And I just let it go. My heart wasn't in it, and so yeah, I let it go for 4 years. I really wasn't doing anything except I was listening to Coast to Coast. I was watching a lot of like motivational videos, business videos, things like that. Um, and during that time, I tried a billion businesses. I
Okay.
tried so many different things, and nothing worked. And then my mom, the Taurus, said, "Hey, start a YouTube channel." I did it. I started it that day.
With the playing card. Um,
Yep.
so during the 4 years, so you started a business before you were 20. Like, how old were you when you started this business that
I mean,
failed?
I have no clue. I mean, I've always been screwing around with business. Even like when I was 16, I started cleaning fish tanks for people. Then I got into, I became obsessed with marketing. And so I got into, doing marketing, copywriting,
Hmm.
and things like that. And then, um, I've always been I'm a dabbler. I'm
Yeah.
a, I'm a Gemini moon. So I dabble around.
Okay. Did you? Not that it. I don't really think it matters that much, depending on what you want to do. But did you go to college?
Yeah, I did go to college for a
Hmm.
little bit of time, but, I've never been just into school. I went
Yeah.
to school actually for criminal justice. I wanted to be a police officer, but I wanted to be a million things. I wanted to
Right.
be a chef. I almost went to culinary school. I didn't do that, and so, I've been all over the
Yeah.
place.
Well, you were very young too, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
lot of
you know
pressure,
what though? I'm not very young, and I'm trying new things now. So what are you gonna do?
and everybody should.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah,
mean, it's crazy the thought of like college and deciding what you want to be, and oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah, looking back, I wish someone just said like, "Hey, just, chill out. Don't"
Yeah, so
there's no
silly,
rush.
and it's so expensive.
Yeah, it is.
My son is 8, and I don't have any. I'm not like, oh my gosh, he has to go. No,
Right.
he just. I don't want him sitting on his butt doing nothing.
Right.
um. So, uh, do you think during that 4 year time? I mean, honestly, when I've heard you say that before, I was like, well, was he depressed? Do you think you were depressed? But it sounds like you were trying, like you were still
No, I
learning, and what do you think?
yeah, there were definitely, like I had, like, depressing moments. I would say I'm not a depressed person,
Hmm.
I'm, like, I'm probably more, positive to a fault, and,
Hmm.
so and overly confident, like, during that time, I had so many ideas that I was like, "Oh my god, this is the one. This is gonna
Right.
be, the thing that breaks me free from this," and so I would say really I'm, like, overly positive, but, I think, I was trying a lot during that time.
Okay.
It was really like going to college because
Yeah.
it was 4 years, and
Funny.
I spent
Yeah.
that time learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
Well, I think the first time I heard you tell that story, I misunderstood it in a way, and I thought you were depressed. I didn't realize you were
Alright.
doing stuff, so you really weren't. I mean, well, I'm not a I'm not a psychologist, but it
Right.
it doesn't sound like that because I was thinking too. When you go through a tough time like that, it sounds like your family is very supportive, which
Yeah.
is great. Because I know you'll mention your mom, and I know your dad on, well, X, formerly known as Twitter. Like he'll tweet for you, tweet about
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's
he
cute.
will.
It's adorable. It's just adorable. Um, uh, but that's very cool. It's that's inspiring too because it could have went the other way. It could have went bad,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah. Um, so wait, so the tarot. So you went from playing cards to tarot. How did you learn tarot then? How did it go into tarot?
I've always been interested in tarot. I started with playing cards because the reason I started with playing cards, I just thought in my head at the time I was like, oh, it's different. Everybody's doing
Yeah,
tarot. There weren't very many readers,
yeah,
and so I just did it because it was different.
yeah.
And no one was reading playing cards at the time. I actually do think there was one other person who did used to read playing cards at that
Hmm.
time, but I was like, it's different. Maybe it'll make me stand out.
Right.
That's really why I did it. Yeah.
And then did you just study it, the tarot, with the meaning like through?
I had like I've been studying it for
Oh,
just
okay.
forever. I've always been
You just
interested
always
in it,
okay.
and so like the whole entire time. And yeah, then I switched. I don't really know why. I don't know why I switched, but I did.
Maybe it was like a natural progression.
I think because I like stopped growing, and I just thought on YouTube that
Oh,
if I
yeah,
I was like I want to keep growing, and since I stopped growing, I was like maybe it's because I'm not doing tarot,
yeah.
so that's why I switched.
And not to speak for you, but I know that too. That's a big thing for you. You change things up a
Yeah,
lot. You always are
yeah, like
trying different things, and I think that's
yeah, it
great.
changed my life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. But yet your core is the same. Like I've noticed, like it's not like, oh my gosh, what's
yeah,
he doing now? There's music or there's this or there's that, and I like how simple your
hmm
videos are, and that's kind of like I like what I want to do with mine. I don't want the bells and whistles and the glam. I just want it to be just a
yeah,
conversation between two people.
yep,
Um, okay. Let's see. So I know you don't do personal readings. And I heard you talking about like you channel while you're while you're doing the reading.
Yeah.
If people haven't watched Chris's videos, I mean, they're great because you'll like blurt out stuff like, if you want to start a worm farm, start a worm farm. It's like, and then they become catchphrases. Also,
Right.
too, I can't even think of an example right now, but you'll say, "Now I know someone's going to put in the comments, but I tried this," and then you're like, "You know what? It's the best." But it's not mean. It's not like being mean or yelling or anything. But so you channel while you have the cards. Do you ever, when you meet someone in person or anything, does that happen to you too? Like thoughts come in, or you
um,
can.
it's happened, but rarely. I mean,
Okay.
I have to kind of be in the
Zone.
zone, so to speak.
Okay.
But it's always like if I'm sitting at a restaurant or something, and I notice a person, it's more in those
Really?
situations that that I find,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
And I think it's because I'm just sitting down. I'm probably,
Yeah.
not totally, you would think that a restaurant is distracting, but
Yeah.
actually that noise
Yeah.
level, it for whatever reason kind of just
Mm-hmm.
chills me right
It's like
out.
white
So,
noise.
um, yeah, yep,
When my son was a baby, we were out. He had fallen asleep in his car seat. We brought him in. We were out on Father's Day. It was so noisy in the restaurant. He slept the whole time. Then the crowd
yeah.
started to leave, and he woke up.
Woke up, yeah.
um,
That's what would happen to me.
yeah. Wait, can I just
Yep.
ask? So, if you, so you, it happens like with a person. Do you look at them and they look at you, or
No, I just like I'll just notice. I just will notice
okay,
people. You know what I mean? I'll
yeah,
just notice certain
yeah,
people, and I'll be like, I wonder what their story is. It's like I can feel them like calling out to me or something.
that's cool or
Yeah,
scary, but no, I think that's cool.
yeah.
um, do you? How many tarot decks do you have?
Oh my god, millions.
Yeah.
I have. I don't even know. I have just a ton,
Um,
stacks and stacks.
and I know when you do your readings too, do you use more than one deck when you're doing
Yeah,
them? Okay.
I always use like four clarifying decks.
Okay.
Four like oracle decks,
Hmm.
and then I always use a regular deck and like a baby deck, like This is my clarifying deck, a little
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you recommend a tarot deck for people just getting
Yeah,
into it?
my favorite always is just the Rider Waite, the regular. This is like the original. Well, this isn't the original. This is a Radiant Rider Waite, but just any old Rider Waite is good. I think
Ride
I
or
like
wait? Is it ride or wait?
it's Rider. It's
Oh,
Rider Waite. Oh, actually, can you see it like that?
yes. Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, okay.
so it has all the imagery. I like the imagery. I like
Hmm.
looking at the images,
Yep.
so that's why I like it.
I noticed too. Like, there's certain ones that I'm like, oh, I tend to not like. I have one tarot deck. I'm embarrassed to even tell you where I got it because you're gonna laugh at me. I got
Barnes
it
and Noble.
Five Below. Do you know what Five Below is?
Oh, Five Below. There you go.
Isn't that terrible
Yeah, I
sounding?
do know what Five Below is.
It's like, oh my god. Not because it was cheap. I mean, I just was in there. My son was picking out like wizard stuff or something. And I was like, "There's a tarot deck." I
Nice.
actually used it kind of for real last night, and it was weird. Oh, I won't go into that now.
Mm.
But I like the pictures are very old to me, like old school looking. But
Yeah.
there's some that if they're too modern looking, I don't love. I don't love them. I don't know
Mm.
when I see them on videos. Not that I have. Okay. Uh, who are your? Okay, so I know you don't read for yourself, right? Do you pay attention
Yeah.
when you're doing the Pisces, or you're not really?
No, I purposely remove myself from the readings,
Good.
so I make sure to block myself
Yeah.
out. So
Okay.
no.
And then, but do you watch other tarot readers for you, or no?
Not really. I mean, there are a few that will watch from time to time, but most of them read about love, and I'm not, I
Yeah.
just don't. I'm not into like love readings. Not, I don't. I have nothing against any of the readers on YouTube or
Yeah.
anything like that. I just, it's just not my something
Yeah.
I'm interested in. So I usually don't. I'll check in on some of them from time to time for sure.
It's funny because I'm married and I'm not looking. Maybe a lot of people who read horoscopes and stuff and are looking for love, but I know love will
Yeah.
come up in your readings. You're always like, I don't know. So I'm always like, okay, so I should look at this as more like a business thing, like what,
Yeah.
as opposed to love, right? Like more like a
Yeah.
collaboration or something. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I tell people like apply it to just like friendships or
Yeah.
people who are close to you.
I'm glad when you do that because I don't think everybody does that who
Right.
read,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, oh my gosh. Let's see. Uh, what else do I have here? What is your work day schedule? Do you do like 5 days a week? I know you put
Yeah, I
the
do
videos
7
out.
days a week.
Do you record 7 days a week?
Yeah, I record 7 days a week. I do, 3 so my schedule is, 3 Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday, I do 3 a day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday or what do I do? I don't even know my own schedule. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think I do 4 a day. And so
Oh
but
wow.
most days I try to do 4 a day. Even on days that I say I do 3, I do 4. Um, some days I'm super motivated, I do more, but,
Okay.
pretty much, averages 4 a day.
And when you record, does it just depend how sometimes you have to stop because something got messed up? Does that happen a lot?
Well,
Or
I mean, never.
oh,
I just record straight. I just go straight through. Yeah, so I never have to stop.
all right, knock on
I
wood.
just go. Yeah, right. Knock on wood. This is a wood
I
table I'm
should have
knocking
I
on.
have
So,
I have wood right here. I believe in
yeah, good.
knocking on wood. I'm sorry. I hope I don't
Me
mess you.
too. No,
I'm just kidding.
I know I'm jinxed now.
From the Taurus.
From the
Um,
Taurus, right?
um, so you do that, and then I mean, I'm just curious, like how, and do you have a studio? You have like an office you go to?
This
You
is
leave your
like
house?
this is my in my house. It's like a downstairs studio.
Okay.
I literally chose this house for this wall right behind me. This is
Oh, it is a
literally why I
cool
chose
wall.
this house. It's because of that wall.
Wow.
And so yeah, this is my little. It's like a little blocked off area that I use.
Hmm.
Yep.
Um, do you get manicures? Because your
Never.
hands
No.
like you don't?
They look good. They look horrible right now.
Well, maybe it's just the video. I can't see.
Yeah, I think it might
Not
be
that
the video. Yeah.
I'm not like, oh my gosh, I'm staring at your nails, but they always look very
I,
clean and
I eat a lot of meat. A lot of protein. So I think I hear that's good for your nails,
like
right?
they always, I don't know, they always look the same like length and everything. Okay. What are you
Yeah, I try to keep them. I try to keep them nice.
um what are your forms of self-care?
Yeah, so, manicures, I mean,
No.
no, I don't do manicures. I like to go for walks. That is probably my number I would say walking is my number 1
Mm,
self-care thing.
hmm.
So I go for a walk every day. I mean, I know if I don't go for a walk,
Yeah.
things start to break. Things start to happen.
Yeah.
So, that's probably the number 1 thing I do.
Okay. Um well, let me go ask about the walks. Do you have a dog? You have a dog, don't you?
I do have it's my brother's dog. She
Okay.
likes me more than him, very clearly, but it's his dog.
You
Right.
walk her or you just go on walks?
No, I she's a little too hyper for
Oh
that,
my gosh,
so and
my
I
dog
live on
too.
a, like, pretty busy road,
Oh
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um I have a dog, and she I had a dog before her that lived to 15, and she was
Wow.
my first baby. Um,
Yeah.
very devastating when she passed away. And I would take her even though she was older, like still, it was like it
Yeah.
really, like crushed me, and I knew it was going to crush me, but way
Yeah.
more. It was bad. But I would take her on a walk every day in the morning. Actually, I live on a very busy road, but I don't live in a neighborhood, and we have some land, and we have a stream behind us, and we have this pen but I would never let her off leash, because if she ran out to that road anyway, I would walk her every day, and when she died, I had to go out every morning, and I had to walk,
Yeah.
um, and that just because she was the one who got me through stuff too, like got me outside. If went through a tough time, it's still she got me out of bed, that whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But I did get another dog, and she's quite also very strong. Holy moly,
Oh,
and
yeah.
feisty. But
Feisty.
but I love her.
Good.
Yes, and I let her run. What is something? Well, you don't leave the house because you go down to your. No, you do leave the house, but that's not
Yeah.
what I meant. What is something you can't leave the house without? And I don't mean the what we all need, bring with us, like cell phone,
Hmm.
keys, ID.
Yeah, cell phone, I normally do see, I would say my pocket knife because I always have it, but I don't ha
Oh,
for once, I don't have my knife on me. Yeah.
well, but that's
Yep.
okay. All right. Is it just like
Yeah.
a thing, like you have to have it? And
Yeah, I just always have to have it, yeah.
is it on a keychain or something? Or it's just
No, it's like
okay.
a clip. It just clips into my
Okay.
pocket.
That's
and it's
interesting.
green. So
Hmm.
green's my favorite color,
Mine too.
and I have to have it. Yep.
And you have a green shirt on.
And I have a green shirt on, right?
Just for me. Just kidding.
Just for you. I did. The Taurus.
The Taurus. Okay, oh, that was it. I was going to ask about the dog. Is there? Okay, one more thing then. Is there anything you can't live without? Like, I have to make sure I have peanut butter in my house. I mean, it doesn't.
It probably is peanut butter, honestly. I would say I literally have like a tablespoon of peanut butter like every single night. That is my dessert nowadays.
Mhm.
So it might be peanut butter.
Okay, crunchy or smooth?
No, no.
Wait.
I actually got pissed at Whole Foods because Whole Foods they started selling Whole Foods. I have a bone to pick with. We can prison Mike this right now because they started selling this smooth peanut butter but it was like it's clearly crunchy. But it says smooth on the label and it's not.
Oh, yeah.
And it used to be my favorite, but not anymore.
I am not a crunchy fan
No, me
at
neither.
all.
Nope.
Thank you. Some people are like, "What? I'm like, no." Oh, I used to hate.
No.
My mom bought
No
that
way.
when I was little. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I'll just eat peanuts at that point.
Yeah. Right. All
Yeah.
right. I think that's all I have for you. I thought that I had a lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Well, thanks again so much.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
you're welcome. And if you came here to see Chris, I hope you come back again to watch some other interviews with some very interesting people.
Of course.
Bye.